It's a wild matchup nobody expected, but now we're diving straight in. Zoro, the sword demon of One Piece, clashing with the elite captains of Bleach's Gotei 13. Two worlds, different power systems. But one question, can Zoro really cut through Soul Society's finest? Let's dig into an alternate timeline where steel meets spirit. In this reality, Zoro isn't sailing with the Straw Hats. He's entered the Bleach universe fully equipped with his strength, Haki, endurance, and battle experience. There's no devil fruit holding him back. And the captains? They're not holding back either. Bankai, Kido, spiritual pressure all unleashed. Zoro versus Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia Kuchiki is precise, elegant, and brutal in the coldest way. Her Bankai, Haka no Togami, is a frozen execution. In a world of ice, time slows for her enemies, and Zoro would feel that sting. But Zoro's not some rookie. He's walked through hell with Mihawk, clashed with King and Kado, and stood his ground against Admiral-level forces. His sheer endurance would help him tank Rukia's freezing effects. She might slow him down with her icicle traps and momentary freezes, but he'd power through it. Once Zoro activates his Asura form and coats his blades in Haki, it's game over. He's the type of fighter who adapts mid-fight, and unlike Soul Reapers who rely on Reiatsu pressure, Zoro's stamina and pain tolerance outclass hers by miles. Rukia is powerful, but Zoro's raw force, sword skills, and resilience would overwhelm her before she could freeze his soul. Zoro versus Mayuri Kurotsuchi. Mayuri Kurotsuchi is not a swordsman. He's a mad scientist. That makes this a nightmare matchup, just not for Zoro. Mayuri's trickery would give him an edge in the first few minutes. His Bankai, Konjiki Ashisogi Jizo, can poison the air, distort senses, and make you hallucinate. But Zoro's fought through poisons before. Remember Thriller Bark? Remember his fight with Killer when he took damage and still fought like nothing happened? Mayuri's biggest issue is that he plays with his opponents. Zoro doesn't. He cuts straight through distractions. One direct clash, and Mayuri's body is split in half. Even with regeneration hacks or swapping bodies, Zoro's insane speed and reaction time would shut him down faster than Mayuri could mutate a backup plan. The fight wouldn't be easy, but Zoro would definitely outlast and overpower Mayuri once the poison gimmicks fail. Zoro versus Kenpachi Zaraki. This is the one we all want. Pure, raw, chaotic violence. Kenpachi Zaraki is a monster who lives for battle. His spiritual pressure can crush buildings. He slices through mountains like butter. And now, in the later arcs, he even knows his Bankai something that multiplies his destructive ability tenfold. But here's the twist, Zoro is basically the Kenpachi of the One Piece world. Their fight would shake the entire battlefield. Kenpachi fights through instinct. Zoro fights through technique and muscle memory. When Zoro activates Asura, he has multiple sword arms, enough to match Kenpachi's unpredictable swings. And with Enma drawing out his Haki, Zoro's blades would be slicing through spiritual pressure like it's paper. It would be a long, bloody battle. But Kenpachi doesn't dodge. Zoro, despite his berserker style, thinks tactically. Eventually, Zoro would use that one critical moment, maybe an opening after Kenpachi laughs off a wound, and land a clean finishing move. Barely, but he wins. Zoro versus Toshiro Hitsugaya and Byakuya Kuchiki. A 2 versus 1 matchup now. Two elemental elites, the young ice genius Toshiro Hitsugaya and the elegant but deadly Byakuya Kuchiki. Toshiro's Daiguren, Hyorin-maru, creates massive ice dragons and wings that let him fly, while Byakuya's Senbonzakura Kageyoshi unleashes thousands of razor-sharp petals he controls at will. Together, they would be lethal. The ice slows Zoro down while the petals slice at him from every direction. But Zoro has fought worse. He took on King, whose flame powers and aerial speed dwarf even Hitsugaya's flight. And Zoro has dealt with rapid, area-based attacks before. Byakuya's petals may seem overwhelming, but Zoro's 360-pound phoenix and ranged slashes can clear the field fast. The real test is endurance. Hitsugaya tires out quickly in Bankai. Byakuya's pride makes him rigid in tactics. Zoro adapts, endures, and closes the distance. Once he's in melee range, the advantage flips. Neither can match his close-quarter brutality. They'd put up a grand show, but Zoro's durability and killing intent would edge out the win. Zoro vs Kensei Muguruma and Rojuro Otoribashi. 2 Viscered Soul Reapers with hollow masks. Kensei fights with explosive punches and a wind-based Bankai, while Rojuro uses musical vibrations to mess with the enemy's perception. This one becomes psychological. Rose tries to disrupt Zoro's mind with sound illusions, while Kensei strikes with devastating force. But Zoro's willpower is absurd. He's been hypnotized before, poisoned, and crushed under massive stress, yet he keeps going. Rose's illusions might briefly throw him off, but Zoro's combat instincts aren't just mental, they're built into his muscle memory. Kensei's physical power would give him some advantage, but Zoro can tank brute force all day, and eventually, he'd cut through both their defenses. Once his swords land even one serious hit, it's over. Zoro might walk out bleeding, but he walks out standing. Zoro vs Sajin Komamura and Shinji Hirako. Sajin Komamura is all brute force. His Bankai summons a giant armor that mimics his every move. Shinji, on the other hand, flips the entire battlefield with his Sakanade reversing directions and senses. Left feels like right, up becomes down. Zoro struggles a bit here. Sakanade's disorienting effects could delay him. Fighting upside down while dodging Komamura's giant swings? That's tough. But Zoro's not just a swordsman, he's an instinctive fighter. His body reacts before his brain finishes thinking. He'd adjust faster than most, and Shinji's technique has a flaw. It's useless if you just swing in every direction, which Zoro does all the time. As for Komamura, Zoro's output easily shatters armored opponents. He cut through steel, dragon scales, and even elemental foes. The giant armor won't last forever. Once Zoro lands enough slashes, even the heart beneath the armor is exposed. 2 captains? Still not enough. Zoro vs Soi Fon. Soi Fon is an assassin, fast, deadly, and precise. Her Shikai is a 2-hit death strike. Her Bankai, Jakuho Raikoben, is a missile launcher, exploding entire buildings. Speed-wise, she might be faster than Zoro initially. She specializes in hit-and-run and stealth tactics. But Zoro has dealt with speedsters like Kizaru and King. He knows how to track movement, predict patterns, and unleash wide-range counterattacks. Soi Fon's strength is her mobility, but her durability is questionable. Zoro's range-based slashes, like Dragon Twister or Black Rope Dragon, would force her to dodge non-stop. If she goes Bankai and fires her missile, she's vulnerable in that second after launching. Zoro only needs one opening. His blade cuts faster than a missile travels. One decisive swing, and she's out of the fight. Zoro vs Shunsui Kyoraku. Now here's a real final boss. Shunsui Kyoraku isn't just strong, he's clever, brutal, and unpredictable. His Shikai turns children's games into deadly rules. His Bankai, Katen Kyokatsu Karamatsu Shinju, plunges both him and his enemy into a dark, poetic, and fatal performance where death feels inevitable. Zoro respects guys like this, the kind who don't show all their cards, who kill with grace and chaos. Shunsui might have the upper hand early. His games force Zoro into weird positions, only able to attack certain ways, forced into a bleeding contest, and trapped in theatrical death rituals. But Zoro has one trait most fighters lack. He doesn't care about pain. He doesn't fear death. That mental edge lets him push through even when the odds are absurd. In Bankai, Shunsui makes everything feel like a slow death, but Zoro thrives in the slow burn. He gets sharper the longer a fight goes on. His killer instincts would eventually break through the rules and deliver a Haki-coated slash right through Shunsui's poetic madness. Shunsui would survive, but he'd admit Zoro earned that win. Zoro versus the entire Gotei 13. Let's crank it up. What if Zoro had to face all captains one after another? Here, even Zoro would fall. Not because he's weak, but because stamina runs out. You can cut through fire, ice, illusions, and poison, but eventually, your body gives out. That said, Zoro would take out more than half the Gotei 13 before falling. His will, his swordsmanship, and his sheer monster-like presence would put fear in even the most spiritual captains. In a fair one-on-one, most captains lose. In a gauntlet, Zoro loses, but he earns their respect. So, is Zoro stronger than the Gotei 13 captains? In most cases, yes. He's built different. He lives for battle. He's walked through the worst and emerged stronger. Against most captains, Zoro edges out a close victory through raw power, unmatched endurance, and battle IQ. 2 worlds, 1 swordsman, and a mountain of sliced soul reapers in his wake.